Well, hello there. I am so glad we get to hang out in this little corner of the online world. I'm Hannah Hermanson, certified coach, international speaker, author, and founder of Dream Life is Real Life. I've helped hundreds of coaches build, scale, and enjoy their online businesses, essentially make their dream life their real life. So welcome to the Dream Life is Real Life podcast. In these shows, you'll find the real people, concrete tactics, and weekly motivation and inspiration to make your dream life your real life. Look, I started this podcast to bring you the role models I never have. We are chatting with the wonderful Serena Curran today. She is here as a manifesting and marketing and all the things business guide, I would say, from what I've learned about you so far. So welcome to the show. Thanks for being an open book here, willing to share some of your insights with us as beings, as business owners, as go-getters, are really looking to supercharge our journey and make sure that we're in alignment. And I know that's your expertise. But before we dig into finding our soul's calling or checking in with our alignment with purpose, love to just know kind of where you're coming from. I know you have a rich background, but would really love to hear an answer to the question of, what brought Serena Curran to a podcast called Dream Life is Real Life today?
Well, because I'm all about everyone having their dream life for sure. And I've learned, over 25 years of experience working with clients, that can be tricky for people. Mm. And yet it's available to everyone. It's possible for everyone. And that I know that when you align with your soul, it's the easiest path for getting that dream life that you want.
I love that. And what makes you know that? Maybe what's your story or background that's brought you to this knowing?
Well, first of all, I started out as a chemist. I became a marketing manager and got an MBA, and then I discovered that I was a healer. And so
nonchalant. I just got a chemistry degree, and then I did marketing, and I got an MBA, and then turns out
yeah.
A couple minutes later, never mind.
Yeah. So I've done everything. I've done, business management, and I was art gallery manager, and I did sales, and I've done all of those things. And I've also spent 25 years helping people transform. And of course, on my own journey, which is, when you're an entrepreneur, it is really a spiritual journey. Totally. And a journey. Yeah, and it's a journey of discovering what your growth areas are and what your edges are and what you need to expand on. And for my own self, I've traveled all over the place, and I would land in foreign countries and create a new life in a few days and a new business in a few days. I've been in I think 14 European countries. I've lived in Austria, and I've lived in Paris, by the way. I lived there for a year. And I've traveled in many states. I lived in Hawaii. I've lived in Sedona. I've just been in a lot of wonderful places. And what I lost my train of thought there for a second. And
getting lost in the wanderlust.
Yeah.
Of all the places you've been.
yeah. But really, bottom line was I was always recreating my life or reinventing my life. And so I've done millions of different kinds of marketing stories and whatever, different kinds of businesses. But at any rate, I got to a point where I was not able to go forward. And I was like, I couldn't understand what was causing this inability to go forward. And in investigating, I kept hearing Akashic Records. And I finally got a reading myself of my Akashic Records and got a clearing, and all of these energies came off of me. I could see them and feel them coming off.
Wow.
And so, and that relieved me of things that I could not heal on a mental or emotional level. And so after that, I just knew that this was an important piece of what entrepreneurs, what was available to entrepreneurs to help them to move forward in their business.
Yeah.
And that is aligning with your soul. So soul gifts. Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad you're bringing this conversation to the show, because everyone has some moment of that, like whether it's hesitation or block or feeling stuck. And so often I've been there, my clients have been there, so many of my peers have been there, where it's just about hustling or muscling through, right? Like
Mm.
I need a different strategy. I need a new team member, like all of these external things, shiny objects, maybe we call them,
Yes.
that we chase and chase and chase. And I recently had a similar experience, maybe not as profound as what you just shared, but realizing that like the cliches on Pinterest about how the inspiration and the happiness and the success comes from within is like, snap, I was chasing like and pulling in so many different directions. So thank you for bringing this conversation. And I love that you have a chemistry and MBA background. So like this is like grounded in science and fact and not just like woo woo, as some people like to call it.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit more about, not exactly the process, but like removing those layers or having more clarity or having those things lifted off of you. What did that afford you, or what did that allow you to do then?
Well, it allowed me to move forward into my business and to discover some new ways of doing business for me. Because basically, even when I read someone's Akashic Records, which is where your blueprint is held, and I wanted to say something about blueprints. Right now, what's happening in our culture and our world is all of the blueprints are changing. And it can cause a lot of chaos and so on. And the only blueprint that doesn't change, that you can really count on, is the blueprint of your soul. And this is your place of safety and security. So always coming back to the blueprint of your soul and to what your soul is asking you for is going to give you that clarity and that ability to go forward. So the shiny objects can be let go of, and all of those things, and really coming into your soul and connecting with your soul.
When you say cosmic, you're saying cosmic, like COSMI, like astrology records? Is that?
No, Akashic Records. Oh, sorry. Let me explain what those are. Let me explain. Yeah, well, they're energetic records of your soul. And and they're what happens with those records is that they're held in the fifth, let's say the fifth dimension. That's where I work, in the fifth dimension. They're held in the fifth dimension. It's like any blueprint. If you're going to manifest, a blueprint that's held in the fifth dimension. You're going to use the third and the fourth dimension, your mental, emotional bodies, to help you, and your action, because you need action to bring it into the third dimension or to physical reality. Okay, so you have a soul blueprint that is living in the Akashic Records, and it can be accessed. And I do it in a very specific way so that I find out your manifesting archetypes. And those manifesting archetypes are really your soul powers or your soul gifts. And of course, the way that we create is for energy, like creative energy, to come down through the center of us and flow through us. And so when you're aligned with your manifesting archetypes, when you're aligned with your soul, you are inside that flow of energy, and you can manifest more easily. You can manifest outside of it. It's just hard.
Yeah. What you're describing there is like a download. So I've had that experience where it's just like, this is just like coming, right? Like it came in a system. I was trying to figure out, how do I describe all these ideas I have about marketing? And it was like, woo, a Venn diagram just like dropped when I was at a conference at one point. And people describe downloads. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, it is. I'm not talking about downloads, but that's the same process as downloads. What I'm actually, it can be, that's one form of manifestation, right? Is bringing that energy, that blueprint of something came down through you, and you wrote it down on a piece of paper, and now it's for real. Right. And you tell people about it.
Right.
So that's manifestation.
Right. Right.
And downloads is one form of it. And so, of course, when your soul comes here in your body, it's inside your body. This is your vehicle for carrying your soul. It has gifts that it brought with it. And those gifts are what needs to be expressed. Those are your strongest, most powerful energies. So if you're not aligned with them and you're not using them properly, you're struggling. Whereas when you align with them, now you're on the easier path of flow and joy. And so that's the work I do. I help people to get aligned with their soul, and then I teach them how to express those gifts in business. And I teach business courses based on helping to align.
All right. Well, what can you give us here? What can you download? I think this is making so much sense to me, right? Like when you're in the flow, when you're in inspired action, instead of that like hustle and muscle. Yeah, everything is easier. Things just come much more quickly. But dang, it's so easy to like like it's such a habit to fall back into hustle and muscle. So how do we tap into that flow? I mean, is it finding our blueprint, or are there other ways that we can tap into alignment?
Well, you know, there's lots of people that teach alignment from the point of view of, you know, like look at what you're really good at, what brings you joy, ask other people how they see your gifts being expressed. And those are all tools that you can use for doing that. On my website, I've also created a little journey called Easy Prosperity, a Soul Alignment Journey. So you can take a little journey. When I read someone's soul, I actually tell them a lot of detail about each one of their gifts and how they can best use it in business. And
but what do you recommend is a good resource or starting point?
Well, I think a good resource or starting point. Yeah, you know, basically when you're in alignment, it feels right, and you can always be asking. You know, it feels good. It feels like you had that flow experience. Alignment always feels really good, and it feels like it's right. If you're like pushing yourself or making yourself do things, you're most likely not in alignment with what that is at this moment. Now that means that can change. Like some days I don't want to do video, right?
Right.
But other days it just flows.
How do you know the difference between like a aversion, like you just don't want to do it, versus being out of alignment? How do you know the difference?
Well, that's a good question. I think it can be very murky. You're out of alignment with your soul gifts. It can show up in a variety of ways, and if you have blocks and restrictions for expressing those soul's gifts, which are also in your records, it can show up as resistance to doing things. So it isn't I don't think it's a real easy, cut and dried answer. I think that if you're feeling stressed and you're feeling overwhelmed, then it's time to really stop and to sit down and tune in to yourself and ask what's going on here. You know, always journaling, always meditation, drawing, any of these, daydreaming, any of these things that can connect you with another level can help you to determine whether you're in the right space or not. It's unfortunate, you know, not unfortunate, it's just the reality that when you're working with let's say the non-linear aspects of yourself, there isn't any linear answer.
Right. Yeah. No, I can definitely understand what you're saying. And I think part of the challenge is that marketing and I don't know what else, but marketing in the sense that we have had to systematize, right? Like, for example, Serena, like you are like a very intuitive, go with the flow, non-linear coach. But people want a system. They want to see concrete, like, okay, what's 1, 2, 3? They want to work through it. They want to mentally understand it. And we've become so comfortable with that, right? Get the 5-step system for this, 3 steps to manifesting, blah, blah, blah. When the truth is, it's not about thinking harder. It's about allowing for more space. Would you agree?
Oh, yes. Space is really important. Spaciousness is really important. That's something that you do need to allow yourself, and that's where the creation comes in. However, I do want to say that I also teach courses. So I'm teaching a course right now on how to make an offer, and it's very grounded. And what we do is connect it to your soul gifts so that you can sorry, I lost my train of thought again. We connect it to your soul gifts, and I take you through a process where at the end you have an offer to put out into the world of your transformation, your gifts, of whatever it is that you do have that's special for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So this is not ungrounded work, and basically my job really is to take what is in the non-linear space and bring it into linear space so that you can understand it.
Right. Yes, I totally agree with that. And there's apps like offers and marketing plans, like even business proposals. Like there's very clear steps, and we can play in that. But I think coming back to this question of like, when do we know if we're just like angsty and don't want to do something versus like out of alignment? And that's trickier to put into like a step-by-step thing.
Well, I would say, let's say, some people are not meant to have an online business, for example,
Okay.
or some people are not meant to have a. Let's get a little more specific. Let's say someone is not meant to have a business where they are completely hands off. Their gift is one of their soul gifts is love, healing, relationship. They need to have a different business model or business structure than someone whose primary gift is freedom.
Right,
and that is the work I do, actually, is when we actually determine your soul gifts, we actually look at what kind of business structure and model works for you. And also, it also depends on your manifesting operating system. And I've had the experience of working with clients who shifted their business structure or model based on their soul gifts and doubled their income immediately, or broke through a barrier. I had a client that was trying to scale up her business, completely failed at it. We shifted how she went about doing her business based on her manifesting operating systems, and she wrote a book. She's been on TEDx. She has a huge following. Everything flowed.
Yeah.
So when it's not flowing, when things are not working for you, you need to look at, is it about resistance that I have, or maybe I'm on the wrong trail? And this is kind of like, as you've pointed out, Hannah, there are many systems out there that says, do it this way and you'll be successful. And that's not the truth.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I totally agree, right? There's not a cookie cutter, one size fits all when it comes to success. And there's definitely many paths, and it's following that joy, finding the path that has more flow than angst.
Exactly.
Yeah, beautiful. And it really sounds like you have a great tool for self-awareness, but self-awareness in general, like being able to know if you're upset or if you're stuck. Just those kind of basic self-awareness tools that I was never given in elementary school. I've been having to accumulate them from teachers and places and yoga classes and, mentors over these last few years. So for someone who might be feeling stuck or might be in a position where they could empower people to get on the right path, what advice would you have for leaders? Because I think I'll speak for myself. As a leader, I certainly seek alignment and flow in my own life, and that'll be a journey or a process in some ways. But I also want to be able to expand that and empower others to find their flow. So any advice from your perspective as someone, as a leader, are there ways that we can offer these tools or help other people find their alignment? Or is this a totally solo task thing?
Well, I think that, we can always help other people to walk the path. That is the job of the leader, to show the way and and so it's really about living it yourself and then being able to share that with others. Always, as a leader, it's about living it yourself and then sharing it with others. And, things that, as I mentioned, there are tools, again, that you can use to check on alignment. You can ask, am I aligned? Am I not aligned? And get your own response to that. You can have your clients do things like journal and ask appropriate questions. How can I move forward?
Yeah. I love
what
that.
would be my next steps? Asking the right questions is very, very important. If you ask the wrong questions, you'll get answers that are not helpful to you. So they always are how to or what can I do or questions, not what's wrong here, but what are my next steps forward? So I think guiding your clients in that direction of what are my next steps forward, how can I move, what would be the next thing I could do, what would be 3 things that would support me, how can I move forward? And so again, if you can do soul alignment as a process, or you can do it as getting the information all at once and being able to then shift your alignment very quickly.
That's powerful. I like that line of questioning. Am I in alignment? Let's just start there, right?
Yes, exactly.
Ask yourself, what is your feeling to that? Like, oh, hell yes. Like I feel, and like, oh gosh, I don't know.
Yeah. like if you're really flying and feeling good, you're in alignment. And so you can go in and out of alignment.
Mm-hmm.
And so being aware of those moments when when it's really flowing for you and joyful, like for you, when you created um, your process, your Venn diagram, boy, that felt good, didn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
And so, so you knew you were in alignment with that. So noticing that feeling and saying, where else do I get that feeling, or where else can I generate that feeling for myself?
Oh, so good. And something I heard today from Esther and Abraham Hicks was, what's the next logical question? And that really moved me, because sometimes you go down these lines of questionings, or you like do your journaling thing, and it's kind of like, okay, I don't know if it's empty, or it's like, it is like, what is that next thing? Or like, what is that next question? Ask yourself, like, what is the next logical question to continue this thought process, to help yourself get some clarity or insight.
Right.
And I think that's a beautiful addition to what you're sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So good. So good. Helpful both for, individuals and leaders there, that nugget you just shared. I want to switch gears, hopefully not too harshly. I do want to ask a little bit, because you've been in the entrepreneurial space. You've started many businesses over the last couple of decades, and definitely learned a lot in the marketing and, sales space, I would have to imagine.
Mm-hmm.
What's working for you now in marketing and business sustenance, if you will?
Well, I think that, authenticity is always number one.
Always.
And, and being in alignment with who you are. So instead of looking at what everyone else is doing, or asking what other people, what their success, you can sense it, Hannah, when you see some of these advertisements, like, make $20,000 by Tuesday, these are not authentic.
From the couch doing nothing.
yeah, whatever they are. Yeah. They're not authentic.
Mm-hmm.
So look for authenticity in what you're doing, and look for it feeling right. And I can say that for me, I know certain things are great for me. Like, I love being on podcasts, and so I know that that's something that I want to do. So it's looking at what your talents, what your gifts are, what your soul. So I'm a communicator. So this is important for me to do. But if I was not a communicator, this would not be important for me to do. So again, it goes back to really knowing yourself.
Totally.
And I teach, and all that I do is designing your marketing or whatever around who you are. And not around what other people are telling you. As far as sales goes, I teach a sales process, and it's very simple. I'll just mention it right here, which is, I say that sales has, and this I learned myself from doing sales. A story I could tell, but I will just keep it short. That sales is about forming a connection with the person, being curious about what they, what's going on with them, and what stories they have that they want to share with you, and then looking for harmony between what you offer and what they've got, what their issues are. And sometimes there isn't harmony, and so it's always about being unattached to the outcome.
Yes. Oh, I love that. One of the questions I ask clients when they're feeling stuck, it's like, when's the last time you didn't make the offer? Like, are you being authentic and actually looking for the connection, or are you just selling?
Right.
So that makes so much sense, right? Like, really being that honest, curious helper, and bridging the gap, if you can help them get from where they are to where they want to be.
Right. And I call it the harmonious sales process, because it really, you don't go into it with a sale in mind. You go into it with the idea that you're going to create harmony with this person, that you're going to connect, you're going to be curious, and you're going to create some sort of harmony at the end.
Wow. And that all comes from a powerful centeredness, knowing yourself and what your gifts are well enough. And you've shared so many great tools or ideas, but I would love to know, Serena, where people can kind of dig into this more with you, get connected with you. Where can they go to learn more?
Well, I think that the easiest place is for them to go to my website, which is serenacurran.com, SERENA CURRAN.com. I have some gifts on there for them, and they can sign up for my list. They can find out about courses, and they can find out about my Soul Wealth Map program. So all of it's there on my website. So that's probably the best place for them to go to connect with me.
SerenaCurran.com. We'll make sure that we linked to that, because I know you do have lots of literal and metaphysical gifts over there, I'm sure, that people can pick up. So thank you so much for sharing everything. I do hope that folks check you out and dive into this opportunity even deeper. So thank you. Friends, I'll be back next week with another inspiring guest that will help make your dream life your real life. I'll see you then. All right, and that's a wrap for our Dream Life is Real Life show today. Thank you for hanging out with me, Hannah Hermanson, and our inspiring community here. Be sure to visit dreamlifeisreallife.com/show to get all of the resources and more that we talked about today, so that you can keep building, scaling, and enjoying your dream life and business. Until next time.